Hello, I have a friend with a video request. They sent it to me privately, so I don't know if they want to know who it is, so I'll just read it. So, hi Kyle, video request. Can you do a video on if you think being racist is wrong and being sexist or bigot because it's all the same kind of thinking? The reason is because I know one racist neighbor, this person who's writing me is a black girl in England, who's still a nice person, but when he's mad, he starts taking some dumb shit, talking some dumb shit, start complaining about these noisy African neighbors and Asians who are calming welfare. His brother, who's not worked in 15 years, the list goes on, but I just ignoring his rants because if I need him, he's always there for a small fee, and he wouldn't just attack someone for nothing based on color, only when he's having a bad day or he's watched the Idiot Box TV or read some shit in the paper. I personally think people are always going to have racist, sexual, or bigot ideas, but if they haven't done you no harm, then you have to realize the worth they bring to you. I only have a problem with racist people or sexist people if they start to action on their ideology and start trying to fuck up my life. After all sorts of racists have kids with other races, look at the American founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson. But to say they didn't bring any good to the world is wrong, and being called a racist or sexist isn't the end of the world. I like the race card sometimes is just to beat people over the head so officials can tick a box to get government funding and to look like they're doing something about discrimination. Bye, Kyle. Keep up the good work. Hey, yeah, interesting request. Video. Interesting subject. Yeah, so, do I think being racist is wrong and being sexist or bigot because it's all the same kind of thing? Yeah, I think it's all the same kind of thing, being racist and sexist and bigot and everything. Thinking you're better than some other group and talking trash about the other group. I think it's something that warrants a lot of discussion, though, because yeah, I think some people take it a little bit too far, calling somebody racist or racism, you know, when it's not, and then that kind of dilutes from real racism. For example, I had a roommate who's just mentioned that black people in America like to drink their beers out of 40-ounce bottles, just have their own beer, and people said, no way. The roommates were like, no way, you're racist. I mentioned that to my brother. He's like, oh my God, that's so racist. I don't think it's racist. I think that's just it's just an observation. It's like saying women like cocktails. You know, if you said, oh, let's get some cocktails for the ladies, or yeah, women like cocktails, I've noticed. Oh my God, you're sexist, you're sexist. You know, that would be kind of ridiculous. So, I think, you know, so as far as complaining about the black neighbors down the hall, I don't know if I would, the black loud neighbors down the hall, I wouldn't consider that to be racist. If he was to be like the black N-words down the hall, then yeah, it would be. But black people are a really musical race. I mean, you go into a black movie theater and they're all like yelling at the movie screen, and you go to a black church in America and they're all talking back to the preacher and saying, "Hey Lord," you know, and they're just loud. It's kind of like saying Americans are loud, you know. I mean, if you've seen a lot of Americans, I'd be like, huh, interesting, tell me more. But I wouldn't be like, oh my God, you're discriminating against Americans. But yeah, saying that like, oh, these Asians on their welfare, oh my God, they're destroying the country. Well, I mean, I don't know if Asians are on welfare. They're not in America. I think poor people tend to be on welfare, so I think, yeah, saying like, oh, this is a certain racist group, racial group that's always on welfare. Yeah, I think that's racist. That's definitely racist and bad. I think this whole like Trayvon Martin thing, the Trayvon Martin getting killed, I think all the people who think George Zimmerman's telling the truth, I think they're racist against black people. Because I look at Trayvon Martin, I just see a kid, you know, a happy kid. You can see it in his face, just a normal kid. His parents have a job and they're together, and he was in his own neighborhood, and that dude was even saying some weird shit right before he killed a guy, like, these people always get away with it, I'm gonna get him, and then he chases after him, and then he says after the kid ran away, he says the kid doubled back and attacked him, and that's like, I don't believe any of that. And so then, there's all these people who think that that it was the black kid who attacked the older guy, and that's racist right there. Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty, look, black people are in jail a lot more per capita, and especially for drugs, than white people. So if anybody's racist against anybody, it's whites racist against the blacks. And if it's poor people who are on welfare, and black people happen to be poor, then it's the poor people. It's because they're poor, not because they're black. And maybe they're poor because they're black, because they're getting discriminated against. So yeah, I think racism still totally exists in England and America, because there's just lots of people who are seeing the world changing. And if the economy goes down, they're the people who they're going to blame, because they're the people who didn't originate there and come from countries that are really poor, so they think they're going to bring, the curse of their country they come from to their country. The Muslims, I think, give it a bad rap when they come to like Europe and then try to impose their laws on Europe, like outlawing piggy banks, because they think any like likening to a pig is like anti-religious, and so they try to impose that on other people who aren't even Muslim. Yeah, that kind of stuff is ridiculous. I don't know exactly how much of that goes on, though, so I think whenever somebody complains about that, they should be extremely, like, just objective and just giving the data of what they know and examples, and just not blurt out. I'm sure it could be really annoying to hear a neighbor, talk about, this, like, these damn blacks, more blacks coming in, they're going to make more noise. Yeah, like expecting another group of black people, if you hear coming in, and expecting them to make noise, that's racist. Like if there's black neighbors down the way who make a lot of noise, and saying these black neighbors with all the noise, I don't think that's racist. I mean, you could say these headbanger kids with all the noise, But then going, yeah, a black person is going to move in and make more noise, that's totally racist, because the next white people move in aren't necessarily headbangers. But yeah, so I mean, if he says something, if he says something like, oh, those black people are going to move in and be like those other black people, then I'd say something. If you're ever bothered, I think it's good to say something. I don't think, he doesn't sound like the kind of guy who would get pissed off and like not want to help you anymore just because you spoke your mind. Just don't get angry with him. And yeah, man. I mean, if people, like relationships with neighbors and people, workmates, I think you should just try to keep your personal life and your emotions out of it, and just be friendly with them, and not like have emotion vested inside of a relationship, unless you're hanging out with them, and then definitely speak your mind, because that'd be annoying to never tell somebody you're annoyed with them if they're your friend and you're actually hanging out with them. But yeah, I mean, the idiot box totally helps make people paranoid, because they're always talking about bad things that happen. So then people think that things are getting worse, and then like they do that big story about the guy who killed the guy in England because he was a soldier, the black Muslim guy, and so then they go, oh no, there's a black guy in my building, he's going to try and kill me, and that kind of stuff is bad. And if somebody says that, you should definitely say something. And if they're toxic about it, I mean, this guy doesn't seem like a dick, but if you're toxic about it and they're dicks, I think it's best to just not hang out with them anymore, because I mean, if it bothers you, and then every time you look at them you feel a bad feeling, then just don't hang out with them anymore. And if they ask you why, just tell them that you didn't like what they said. Don't go, I think you're racist. Go, I don't like what you said that other time. I don't want to hear you say that again. You said it on Sunday. You said this on Sunday. You said this on Friday. And I just don't want to hear it anymore. So go away. They'll be like, oh shit, and then maybe they'll be. Because I think a big favor you can do to somebody is to point out their crap when they're doing it, even if they resent you for it. I don't do that. That's not my style. But when people do it to me, and I'm in the wrong, I'm like, all right, it's. Yeah, people have, they're gonna make you change. And how else are you going to change if nobody says anything? So, yeah, I personally think people are always going to have racist, sexist, or bigot ideas, but if they haven't done you no harm, then you have to realize the worth they bring to you. Yeah. I mean, if you know, if it's like your boss or somebody you work with, and they say annoying things just because they're a dick, but you don't want to have to change jobs or whatever. Yeah, I mean, it's actually, you know, in like Eastern religions, like Buddhism, it's actually seen as a strength to not get bothered by something like that. You know, it's just your ego that's reacting to it. Especially if they say something generally about your race, you know, or your religion or something. They're not saying it to you personally. That's a totally different thing. If they're going to start insulting you personally, then yeah, I would get pissed off, and I'm a lot less patient with that kind of stuff than as I used to be. I used to be a lot more like, oh, don't get offended, it's just my ego. But yeah, if they say it to me personally, I'd be like, look, man, you're a dick, don't say that again. And then if they do it again, I would just, you know, get another job or something, or tell other people. If they're just a coworker, you just tell other people they said that, you know. But I mean, yeah, if they say it generally about your race or whatever, I think the best thing to do is just ignore them, you know. I mean, I'm confused with all the people who get pissed off at me, like when I do reviews of countries and then they take it personally. It's like, I'm not talking about you, I was just talking about your country, you know. Totally different. I mean, people could say, fuck America, I hate America. And it's like, Americans are idiots. I'd be like, all right. But if like, you're a fucking idiot, that's a little bit different. Like what? I'm just speaking my mind, you know. So a lot of people, they're just going to say it generally, you know. Just tell them to give an example, and then tell them stupid people don't give examples, and then ask them when they said that. Oh, really? Where did you hear that? I hear it everywhere. Like, what place did you hear it? I don't remember nothing. Oh, okay. I wouldn't tell them they're stupid. I'd just be like, right. And then I'd label that person as one of those stupid people who just think things and they don't remember like where they heard it or why. And those are people who watch the Idiot Box, the TV, so much that they're like, yeah, black people are 85% more likely to do homicides. Oh yeah, where'd you hear that? It's everywhere. Like where? TV. When? Where? When in the TV? What channel? I don't remember. My brain's overheating. Just be like, oh yeah, okay, so that's a stupid person. Next time I see him, I won't be asking him any advice about anything. But you can be friends with stupid people. I mean, you know, dogs are dumb. And you come and you pet the dog, you scratch his head when he walks up to you. So, you know, if Mr. Retarded Neighbor walks up to you, hey, how's it going? You'd be like, oh, hey, what are you going to watch on the TV today? I'm going to watch another episode of CSI. Okay, have fun. Yeah. You know, you can be friends with the retards. In fact, you're kind of a fool if you're going to get offended by a retard saying something stupid. It's like a dog barking at you because he thinks you smell like turd or something, or a little 2-year-old angry with you because he thinks you like stepped on his artificial dog friend or something like that. You know, God wouldn't get upset with some little stupid person who says something stupid about him. So, yeah. Thomas Jefferson wasn't racist. He had a bunch of slaves and had babies with them, but he denounced racism. You know, and that's just how it was in those days. And I'm sure he treated I went up to Monticello where he lived, and he had all his slaves had their own room, and so they lived a good life. Yeah, he was friendly to them. He said a lot of bad things about slavery. So, you know, I'm sure he owned them and everything just because that's how it was, and they expected to have it like that. But I mean, yeah, if it was me, I would have let him go, but then maybe he would have caused too much dissension among his own party for telling him he thinks he's better than everybody. I don't know, but you know, if you're living in a world that's totally racist and you're like a lot less racist than everybody around you, I don't think you should be called racist. You should just be called you know. But yeah, the more like anti-racist you are, the cooler you are. So yeah, Thomas Jefferson could have gone a lot farther, that's for sure, just by letting his slaves go. Okay. But to say they didn't bring any good to the world is wrong. Being called a racist or sexist isn't the end of the world. Yeah. Yeah, there's people who just, I mean, there's different interpretations of what racism and sexism is. So, I mean, I don't think it's ever necessary to even call anybody a racist. You could just say that something somebody said was racist, you know? That's not calling somebody racist. They're just going, hey, that's racism. Racist. And then they go, no, it's not. Because. And you go, yeah, it is because. And then you can have a little discussion about it. Oh, and what fun. But, yeah, people need to learn how to have arguments about stuff without, like, getting upset and screaming all of a sudden, you know? And, but, you know, if you're having an argument like that, somebody, and the next thing you know, they're screaming, just be like, all right, you can't have an argument. I guess we'll just change the subject and be like, yeah. Oh, God. You know? But, yeah. You know, I think the best thing to deal with racism is if you feel it a lot. I think that'd be cool to tell videos. I'd love to hear videos of black people telling all their specific stories of racism. See, that's where the conversation gets interesting, when people start telling specific stories. You know, I mean, and if it happened, why not tell the story? You don't even have to give the person's, you don't even have to tell the person's name and give them away. But if they happen to see your video and they know it's them, then they'll be like, oh shit, and they'll realize how much of a dick they were, and they'll change. And, you know, it could help them even if they see it. But, and it'll help other people to hear it, because they'll know that it actually happens. It still happens. Because there's people, you know, white people who are like, too much affirmative action, there's no racism, oh God, it's pissing me off. There's like, there's no racism. I hate it when they're accusing Zimmerman of being racist. It's that black kid who was a thief. It's like, what the fuck? No, he wasn't. So, yeah. Discrimination? Yeah, discrimination is bad. I wouldn't discriminate, but I mean, if you get, look, if one race, if you have too many negative experiences with one race and you decide to be discriminating against that race, like if you're a business owner, I think, you know, it's better that you actually vocalize your discrimination and say why, but then follow that up with all the examples. You know, like if I lived in a place and every single black person I ever hired fucked me over, and it happened a lot more than the white people, I would vocalize it. I'd be like, yeah, I'm not going to hire a black person again. They'll screw me over. I'm only going to hire white people, and then I'll give all the stories. So, and I can't say that. I mean, I've been screwed over by black people and by white people, so I'm not biased towards any race. But, you know, black people, I'm more biased towards a poor person from a broken family. Those kinds of people you don't really want to trust. And there's more black people. Well, actually, in America, more black fathers get their women pregnant on purpose than white guys. But I think there's more like black single mothers and stuff. So from broken families and more poor people who happen to be black. So because of that, I would, you know, I guess it would be more likely that I would trust a black person less. But it's just on you know, your situation in life, not what color you are. And I think I do a pretty good job of not being discriminating, sexist or racist. Some people are sexually discriminating against women and want to pay them less because like I talked to a guy who was a supervisor for a factory for a long time, and he's like, no way, I'd never hire a woman for my company. Why? Because they always show up late, and there's always something going on, and they're always getting sick, and and they can't show up at work. And so, I mean, if somebody has that experience, you know, if they say that and they can't give the example, I wouldn't really listen to it that much. But you know, people should give examples, and if women get a reputation for being like not very reliable, then they don't deserve to be given as many opportunities. But I haven't experienced that. I only heard that from one person. So I wouldn't discriminate against a woman. I think at the end of the day, it's all boils down to communication. You gotta give the examples of when you're perpetrated against, and then like laws, anti-discrimination laws. I think those are good because we still have racism. I mean, there's still people doing some crazy shit in America, like white-only prom dances and whites only vote here, and trying to make so black people can't vote because you have to pay for the voter ID card, which is a lot of money, and people just can't afford it, and it discourages people from voting. That's stupid as hell. You know, that kind of stuff is discrimination. You know, it's subtle stuff. Drugs, making marijuana illegal in general, that's racist. Because they can use that law to then just go out and use it however they want to arrest whoever they want, black people and stuff. So, so yeah, I think you just deal it on a person by person basis, and if they bother you too much, just don't hang out with them anymore. But if you get something out of the relationship, I think it's good to keep in mind that whoever forgives the most and is the most tolerant of somebody who even if they're an asshole, as long as they're not like personally attacking you, the most tolerant somebody is, the stronger you are, because the stronger your ego is, the less, of a Napoleon complex you have, and the more admirable you are. And I think everybody agrees with that. And then, eventually they'll see you as being patient, and you can be a good example for your race. Like if you're black and you're the calmest, coolest person ever who listens to that stuff and tolerates it, that person will remember it, even if they're dumb, And if they say something stupid against another race and the other race freaks out, then they'll be like, oh, well, I know the black person who stays chill, so black people are actually chill. And you can actually change their mind. So yeah, I think at the end of the day, just try to be as forgiving as you can personally, when people are generalizing, like your kind of people. And then, keep the lines of communication open. Like I wouldn't be quiet if over and over again. I'd be quiet the first couple of times, and then next time I see him, and I go, oh, there's that guy, and that's like the first thing I remember is he's probably going to say something racist. I'd be like, all right, well, if he says something racist this time, I'm going to say something, But, yeah, case by case scenario. I'd love to hear specific stories from people, though. Okay, peace out.